Hey, I know you're probably wondering what the fuck I'm doing. Putting up another video so quickly after my the weekly. Well, I listened to Spirit and I took into consideration a request from James. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for having the interest in what I might come up with outside of just a regular energetic predictive reading. So I've decided that I'm going to make additional content that is a little bit more conversation oriented, and I want to sort of explore specific topics that are complex and obviously also quite personal, but we're going to look for the universal in those topics, and I understand that this isn't going to be for everyone, and I have no expectation that those of you who enjoy my weeklies also will want to be a part of this. But let's see where it goes. I'm going to, because I did not, do so in the weekly this week, take a Spirit Animal Oracle card and see what it actually gives us to work with. So far, got a lot of strange cards coming out, but I seem to have a card here, number 8, and I think it's especially apt that I'm getting it because we've never had this card before. And please don't be put off by the way I'm recording this. I'm actually lying on my bed. I'm not in bed, but I'm relaxing, and this is how I do it with my weird purple haze lights. I'm not stoned, just in case you're wondering. So, here's Bobcat Spirit. Life is a mystery. Apparently, I'm also a bobcat. So, let's see what Bobcat Spirit has to say to us, and then we'll elaborate, right? If I can read in this light, let's see. The bobcat moves furtively and mysteriously, and when Bobcat Spirit appears to you, she brings a powerful reminder that not all things in life can be explained or understood through the power of the intellect. Trying to figure things out, find logical explanations, or predict what will happen based on reason and facts will not provide you with the certainty and comfort you seek. Bobcat asks you to trust in the great mystery and let the secrets of the universe reveal themselves to you through direct experience. Allow your vision to slip into soft focus, and you will see between the lines and observe what has been hidden there all along. Bobcat Spirit helps you to know intimately the pulse of the divine in the world. Trust in the wisdom and revelations that come to you. Yet know that understanding may not come as you would like it to. What you experience through your heart and intuition, which comes to you as the voice of your inner knowing, will guide you now as you accept the secrecy is woven into the fabric of existence. No matter what, the appearance of Bobcat Spirit is a sign that you are being called to trust, even when what is revealed does not agree with your need for intellectual certainty. Well, I think that's very interesting, just in the sense that in our weekly we did have an emphasis on that sort of idea of allowance and patience and being in the moment and experiencing things as they come. And the beauty of life is that there is always the possibility of change, that even when we are ostensibly at our weakest, or feeling undermined, or feeling invisible, we can always be surprised by what the universe decides to share with us in unexpected ways. Personally, I think I limit myself a great deal because the deep romantic within me, and you may have gathered this from my aversion to interpreting anything of a coupling nature in my readings, a lot of that is from my own insecurities surrounding that. I project the idea that, the universe owes me in some way romantic fulfillment based upon the expectations of what I experienced in the past, which of course have been sugar coated and repurposed through rose tinted glasses over and over again in a wash cycle that at this point has rendered the past completely unreliable as a beacon of truth. So I want to expand my horizons in terms of what the mystery of life can be and how that can manifest itself, and to be more in alignment with the possibilities that are inevitable, but in order to do so, it's also important that we face what gets in our way. I've noticed recently that I have been feeling a lot of anger towards people, specific people. I've allowed myself to measure myself in terms of how other people perceive me, usually from a place of lack, and therefore a feeling of invisibility, a feeling of not being acknowledged, a feeling of not being appreciated, a feeling of not being valued for what I perceive as my worth. And we've talked so much about self-parenting and being able to parent and nurture the inner child in order to become more expansive and more clear-headed, in order to follow a path towards fulfillment and expansion and ultimately love. But you can't just talk the talk, obviously. You've got to walk the walk, and it's difficult when you have anger inside of you, because you see it as a hurdle or an obstacle. But in consideration of Bobcat Spirit's message, it might be more helpful for me, and if you find truth in this for yourself too, to open myself up more to the idea that an emotion such as anger is there specifically as the language of the universe to force me into exploring ways to process and overcome, but also those emotions where, when I was younger, emotions of sadness or regret or nostalgia these things they perhaps were painful in some way, but there wasn't that sense of time involved in how I experienced those things. In there being a expiration date or a limited pathway ahead. Whereas now, I find I judge myself with a sense of tragedy surrounding the existence of anger and sadness within me. They are somehow perceived by my subconscious functions as being threatening to an ideal that I suppose I'm pursuing in a very indiscriminate way. So let's read the protection message, see if that gives us some insight too. Bobcat Spirit tells you this is not a time to reveal your deeper, most cherished dreams and desires to others, but rather a time to be quiet and gentle with yourself. As truths begin to emerge in your awareness, self-protection is called for. So be discerning, selective, and even secretive, revealing no more than is necessary. People have a way of imposing their opinions on you. So pay attention to whom you surround yourself with at this time. Be watchful and check your own motives, as well as those of others, as you keep your secrets to yourself for now, rather than exposing them to those who may potentially misunderstand your intentions or may not be supportive. Let your logical mind take a rest as you start to perceive the energy of your environment. Bobcat Spirit wants you to be stealthy and wise and keep your own counsel. Let yourself be a mystery yet to be revealed. Let yourself be a mystery yet to be revealed. I mean, that's sort of perfect, right? It's like, it reestablishes that sense of the possibility, the unexplored. It's almost like we have to create our own mystique in order to keep ourselves engaged in the possibilities, the flow of energy. And I recognize that in myself. There's a deep need for me to open back up in so many ways, all the pain, all the trauma, all of these things, while I intellectually process them, and certainly have moved beyond, the kind of triggering that used to be able to send me right over the edge. It doesn't mean that I'm authentically honoring my vulnerability. Which is why I can be defensive, which is why I can be triggered by those who I perceive as having been abusive, or having been at the source of trauma, or having contributed to darkness and pain in my life. So I think that this is about intentions for the month of May, and Let's approach ourselves with the kind of mystique and mystery that we want when we, what we find alluring in a date, a date with destiny, a date with another, with a fated partner, make that yourself. Maybe we can surprise ourselves, with aspects of who we are that we have either forgotten or we have retired or we have lived in denial of, or we have separated from for fear of ridicule, abandonment. It's time for self-worth to be explored not only from inside of ourselves, but also as we would perceive ourselves from the outside, which is a hard thing to do, but I think it's important right now as we move between the first and the second. We've moved into that second decan of Taurus. It's like that's a challenge for us to, before we necessarily like open ourselves up to other people's perception of us in our full self-worth. Let's experience ourselves from the outside. Let's ask ourselves who we are. Who do we want to be perceived as? What's important to us in terms of how we are valued by ourselves and others? And whatever space is in between, if you are imagining that and you're seeing, a difference between what you admire in yourself and what you want other people to admire in you, then those are clues, right, as to where we need to do more work. For example, for me, I get into the very superficial when it comes to how I want to be perceived by other people. I want other people to validate me out of my insecurities. And yet, if I spend time with myself in my full potency, and I acknowledge that, and I cultivate it, I see myself as wise, experienced, calming, supportive, kind, generous, reliable, trustworthy, interesting, exotic. But somehow I can't see that other people would see me that way. So, life is indeed a mystery, as I have no idea exactly where this was going, but Bobcat Spirit had a little message for us, and it brought out some conversation in me, and it's a little extra 20-minute video for you when you have a moment, just to provoke a little bit of thought about yourself as we move through these upgrades. This is a very pivotal time where we can shift our reality entirely, because what we want is shifting. And we have to give ourselves the time and the space to acknowledge those things and to define them too, rather than allow expectation and pre-established routine to limit us. Blessings. I love you.